Hello, hello. Just as always, YouTube shows me that we are online. We have good connection, which is also fine. Just as always, could you please write into live streaming channel whether you can see me, whether you can hear me? Is everything all right? Okay. I can see your pluses earlier, so it shows me that I didn't forget about ultra low latency setting for the stream. Okay, so I will be able to see your reactions just in time. Okay, guys, not too many viewers today, but anyway, we will have review session. You will have recording just as always, and we will be able to. You will be able to take a look at it later in the convenient time. Okay, so what do we have for today? For today we have two tasks for review. First one is simple CRUD API. You had to implement CRUD API using pure Node.js and JavaScript and TypeScript if you wanted to write some tests and so on. Let me open assignment. Yes, you could use only specified libraries. Please pay attention to it because stuff that is not mentioned here is considered to be external libraries. You have to pay for it. So you had to implement several handlers for requests to API user endpoints with different methods. You had requirements to object shape, object interfaces. You had requirements to handle requests to non-existing endpoint. You had requirement to handle errors with non-crash behavior and internal server error status code. And also you could implement API testing, and you could implement different development and production modes of running application. Okay, let's take a look at the code. Today we have a solution from a student with GitHub JS PowPow, and it's quite big one. Let's try to make it fast, make it quick, because we have another task for review. So let's begin. First of all, let's take a look at readme.md. We have no extra instructions for running server, or at least I didn't found it, which is not good because we have some stuff that should be done. For example, we need to create .env from .env .example and so on, and probably it would be nice to have some instructions how to run your service, and some important implementation details could also be mentioned here. Okay, let's start from package.json file. We have all necessary scripts here, all scripts to run server. We have these scripts according to task requirements, having dev and prod scripts, and versions for single server and multi-servers configuration. I assume that multi-version just extends single version, so let's start with file that is run in single version with file standalone.js. Okay, let's open it. First of all, I remind you that it's better to use Node protocol for imports of Node dependencies. It will work, but it's better to use it. Just I remind you it on each review. Okay, so then we use .env to get environment variables from .env file, and from now on we can get it using process and environment variable name. So we get database port and web server port, and initialize database service and web server. It's quite interesting that here we have separated in-memory database. It makes sense for multi-mode implementation. In general, everything here looks fine. We use proper environment variables for port. We transform it to number because when we read environment variable, it's string by default. And also we have default values as fallback. It seems to be okay, but let's check whether some async stuff happens inside of start memory database service and start user service, because in this case first server initialization should be awaited, because our main application, which is this start user service, depend on database initialization. It will have nothing to work with. Okay, let's check. We have this function. Okay, it calls create HTTP server, but it returns results synchronously. Okay, let's check user service. Pretty same thing, except some minor differences, and it is also synchronous, so it's okay. By the way, these functions, they look pretty similar. You can take a look at this one and this one, only some differences in rows resolutions and in those, I don't know, emoji that I used for login. So probably they could be abstracted even more. We could have only one such function and provide, I don't know, some roads, emojis to it. But okay, they are not fully similar. Okay, let's take a look at start memory database service at first. We can see that we deal with our custom code here, because all imports are local. We don't use some Node.js or external libraries functionality. So I think we could use default param here. Probably this is my addition. It was like that before, but we have this awesome default parameter here. So we could just add equal to and default port. So okay, it has different name, server port and server port. So don't hesitate to use JavaScript in build functionality. So we initialize server here, handle listening event, which is emitted when server will start, and then we return these servers. Just I have one minor concern here. Don't forget to add empty lines between logical blocks of code, because well, we have three blocks of code here. Server initializing. Okay, probably we need a bit bigger. So we have this server initialization, we have adding event listener, and we have return instruction of this server with listener. So would be nice to separate it visually. It will make it more readable. Okay, let's dive deeper and take a look at create HTTP server function, because it's first I thought it's Node.js function, but it's a custom function. Let's take a look what's inside. And okay, so we provide our create HTTP server function with some options, and then we try to use it. So we try to get routes from server options, and for some reason create object with empty prototype here, because well, when you call object create null, you create object without prototype. I don't get why. Plus, okay, your server option, let's take a look at the type definition. This is object with some optional properties, but this is always an object. It can't be, according to the type definition, it can't be null or undefined, so you can assume that this is object. Plus, let's take a look at the routes. You can see that routes are also just routes config, and routes config is object with keys string and route handler as a value. So it's also always defined. So your options and roles are always provided. This is your code. You don't handle some external values in runtime. It's not dynamic value. So you don't need these runtime checks. This is your code. This is your code base. You should rely on your types. If types are incorrect, you see runtime errors, just fix the type, it's an issue. Don't make extra checks and replacements with default values over them. This is excessive. So, sorry, I will just remove it. Okay, what do we use from server options? Okay, server options, routes. Okay, let's just do it like this. Okay, so we rely on our types. Let's run lint just in case. Create file, no such file. Okay, didn't really try to run this code before. Maybe I have some. We are in the root of the project. Weird. Okay. But anyway, as I mentioned, you should rely on your types. So here we use create server from Node.js, from inbuilt HTTP module. So here we provide, sorry, where it is? So we provide a request listener function, which is an argument to create a server as a callback. It works with incoming message and server response abstractions. And inside we try to execute on request income. If it's provided, we try to execute it conditionally, which is okay. We may not have this option provided. Then we have some validation, I guess. Let's take a look inside the assert valid request function. We check that request exists, but once again, according to the type definitions, it's not possible to have undefined request. So we don't need this check. I mean, this part, it's really excessive. And then we check that request URL and request method are not undefined or null. This is what this is nil function makes, I assume. Okay, I'm not sure in which cases it's possible, but at least from type definitions, you can see that it's string or undefined. So from types definition perspective, it makes sense. Then we have, we also have asserts keyword here. This is TypeScript stuff. It means that if this function returns some value, in other words, if it doesn't throw, then condition that it asserts is true. So request is client incoming message. It reminds us is keyword, but here assertion is error based and not return boolean value based. This function can't return anything except undefined, by the way. You all know that if function doesn't return anything, it returns undefined under the hood. So you can return undefined. But if you will try to return, I don't know, return true, for example, you will have you will have error because boolean is not assigned to type void. This function returns void. Okay. So let's go back. Then we try to do something called process routes matching. I remind you that this happens inside of the request handler. This function is executed every time our server will receive some request. Okay, let's dive in. Yeah, I left some review comment. So first we get dictionary of routes mapped to their handlers, and then we try to do some transformation over them. We transform each route handler pairs to URL, route, handler, some match. We try to match pass URL, whatever it is. Then we try to filter not matching routes, and then we do match again, and okay. So to be honest, I don't get what's going on here and why it has to be that complicated. To make it easier to understand, it would be nice to extract it into smaller functions, split by variables, or at least add comments. I don't know. Okay, so we've got some matched routes. We can take a look at type definition. It's an array of objects with params, URL, route, and handler. Then we validate result. It can be empty. It can have more than one item. Then we get first item, and then we check that it exists and it has handler. If you only need to check that it has handler, you can use conditional. You can use conditional chain and check for just handler, because if result handler is not defined, then your result is also not defined. You can simplify, and you can simplify these checks, or you can just use, I don't know, no result dot handler, and that's it, because well, handler it's this is something route handler. This is fun. I don't remember what it is exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's not empty string. It's not I don't know, zero, yeah, something like this. So this check could be simpler. Okay. In the end, we return result, but for some reason we do it with type assertion. We do typecast here. I don't get why we need assertion here, to be honest, because we have so many different runtime checks. So let's take a look what will happen if we will remove it. So undefined is not assignable to matched routes. Result. Why result can be undefined? Okay. What's now? Okay, anyway, probably we missed some extra checks. Let's take a look at match routes. Maybe it complains about parameters, because here it's defined, but here in our results param is record string or undefined. Maybe problem is related with this one, but okay, maybe we need to add it to runtime check to make, or we need to make params optional in result. I think that if we have so many runtime checks, maybe it should be done without this type assertion. Okay. Let's go back to the create server. Then we pass our handler with some parameters to the serve function. Let's dive into serve function. So here we get type by using type of operator, but to be honest, this is looking a little weird for me because, well, you have type of in TypeScript as well. You use this operation in TypeScript to get type from runtime value. I would place the stuff into get serializer by value type to avoid misunderstanding. You can place it here, and you can just pass data there and safely identify data type there. Plus, I have a question. Do we really need such complex functionality to work with different data? So we can even have a function here. Is some function data? Because our application is very simple. It works with predefined and well-known data. So I would propose not to overcomplicate things, because for other students, I just remind that we are still inside of handler for request. We are not even we are not even at the top level. Okay. Then we pass execution to process route request function. Inside of it, it accepts another function, context, which contains request and response. For some reason, we check that function length is equal to router handler params length. This is 3. Function length. In this case, we do promise resolve. Then we do some stuff with response, else we... Okay. First of all, this probably could be a synchronous function, so I would not advise you to use promise resolve, promise reject, except then in some rare cases you have sync await and you can just return value from a synchronous function. So okay, something happens here. It's not clear what's going on here and why it's going on. Maybe we need some comments, so looks really complicated. Okay, we did something here. And then we okay, it was inside serve function, or we can get serializer by value type. Stringify. Okay, we try to stringify everything except function. But what is the case when we can have function as a data, and why do we need to work with it? Oh, okay, then we call this stuff and we provide it with resolve. Then it calls itself recursively. Once again, I don't get why resolve client context resolve. Okay. Somehow this should lead to resolution of request. I don't get why and how, but okay. I'm not sure about naming here, by the way, because function named serialize, but call of this function leads to the processing of the request to making response. So semantically, serialized function should just do one thing: serialize some data, for example, transform it to JSON, maybe with some data transformations, replacement, omitting some properties if applicable. So maybe this is more about request processing, but okay, I just lost in those deep nesting and abstractions. Plus, by the way, we are using high order function here, so we call function and then we call function that was returned. But if we will take a look inside, okay, why do we need two functions here? What happens if we will just make it like this? We can provide data as a second argument, and it doesn't change anything. Okay, res data. So why do you use it like this? With a sort has defined data. Okay, res. Okay. We are breaking rules of object-oriented programming here with low coupling because, well, you change it in one place, in other place it's used with single argument, in other place it's used with as a high order function. Okay, looks really complicated. Let's leave it as is, but I don't think this pattern of using high order function is really applicable here, to be honest. Okay. So then let's go back to create HTTP server. Here we call on request finished in response finish event. If it's provided, we call it conditionally once again. And here we call, once again, we have a higher order function here, process errors. We call this function, then we call result of this function, probably process errors. Let's see how it's used. Process errors. Process errors. Okay, probably this could be just handler. Okay, we also have a stop server function here. It's asynchronous, but it returns promise. But why do you need to return promise from asynchronous function? It could be just like this. Promise void, yes. Okay. Anyway, for me, when you return promise from asynchronous function, it looks a bit weird. Maybe, okay, I can see that you have this promise resolve here, and it resolves when you your server close callback will work. But anyway, why should it be async in this case? Maybe it could be just function. Let's not mix this syntax with returning promise and using async keyword. Okay, I'm lost a little bit. So anyway, we create server, we return it somehow. Okay. Where our request handling? Where is database initialization? Process errors and with error context response. And with we use some and with utility and with okay, Here we just end request with error status and error message. Okay. Process route request with a short has defined data. Defined data. Okay. So this is about request handling. Once again, this is really complicated and too many abstractions and layers of nesting. I think that simple things should be done in simple way. Really, you have just web server which works with one endpoint with one REST entity, and probably you don't need so many layers of abstraction. It's hard to read, it's hard to understand, and I'm pretty sure that it's hard to maintain because, well, you change one place and it breaks in another place. Okay, but anyway, we had these routes, DB service routes here. It was provided to us. So let's take a look what happens here. We have API records, API record with record ID pass parameter, and we have API purge, so we can delete records. This is, I remind you that these are internal roles of database service. What are we doing here? We use process records API. So here we switch method. We try to identify the request method. If request URL is API records, then we try to get records. Otherwise, we try to read one record from context. Okay. On post we create record. On put we update record. On delete we delete record. I would check. Okay, let's start our server. I have one assumption about this. Okay, let's try to start our server. npm start. Oh, npm run start. Yeah. By the way, I installed all the dependencies. Okay, we have address unused, but I don't really remember what happens on my port. What's going on? We have some. Okay, maybe this is some system stuff. Let's just change our port. Oh, and try again. Okay, so let's see what we are trying to test. We try to test database roles, and okay, if it starts with API records, this validation should work correctly. API users, let's try to make get. Okay, bad request. UUID is not provided. Okay, but what if we will try to make post request using some additional values, because what I can see, we don't check for extra values here. So if it starts with API users, server, okay, good. API users something. Okay. Name is some name. So we were able to create user using API user something. Okay, this is minor thing. Maybe there are many ways to break this validation. You shouldn't try to get some. You shouldn't try to break it hard way, just basic cases. By the way, we have a very fancy login here. We have login from memory database, and we have login from users. Okay, it looks nice. Okay, let's try to take a look inside of these methods. Create record with store, assert request method, post, read body async. What's going on inside of read body async? Okay, here we use asynchronous iteration over request. Request is instance of readable stream, so we can just use this subscription to events like on data, on end, and so on, or we can use it like it's asynchronous iterator using for await loop. Both options are fine. This one looks shorter than version with subscriptions. Okay. DB service roles. Create record, get record, assert method. Assert is valid to UID. If store doesn't have record ID, we throw error. Otherwise, we return it. Too many things happens in one function, you know. It's better to make as according to REST servers rules. This stuff should happen at different layers. Okay, so you have a controller layer which is responsible for handling request and returning result, and you should have a service layer which will go to your database. Go to your database in runtime, and then provide value to controller, and controller will make this write head and end. But here your function goes to the store and manages request. It breaks single responsibility principle. So it's better to have such stuff at different layers. And it also validates requests. So too many things in one place. Okay, other functions do pretty same stuff. From try, tap right. You don't need this, really. Make things simpler and in one place. It's very hard to understand what's going on here and what is the logic. Okay, so in a nutshell, we have a standalone service for in-memory database. This is okay because this is known as sidecar pattern. Imagine you have some web server which is running on one physical server, and okay, you may do some heavy jobs here, like I don't know, images or videos processing, some jobs that require high computational efforts. And if your server becomes overloaded and you have a database on the same server, your database will throttle your computation works. Your computation works may throttle your database. So it's actually a good idea to split your memory layer, your storage layer with your computation layer, and make it, I don't know, for example, different services, different EC2 instances, different machines. Okay. We have some tests here. We have some tests for DB service. Okay, cool. What's not necessary by assignment, but if you have some tests and it works, it's nice and good. Okay, then let's take a look at the user service. I will take a look at the chat. Maybe you have some questions. Okay. It has readme git pull. Okay. I just made early snapshot, but I will not do this because I took a look at the implementation. Maybe it changed, so you should test users API, not records, restrict just memory object storage, users another service, another routes with their validation. It's fine. Anyway, let's take a look at the user service. So here we do a pretty same call, except the fact that we don't use hard-coded routes, we try to compute it. Let's take a look inside. So we have this process users API. If we try to get users, we try to get users with database. Otherwise, we try to get user with database. Okay. Here we have a higher order function, db host name. Okay, by the way, it's nice that you used fetch here, because Node.js also supports fetch. Okay, then you parse response and you send it to the response of user service. Okay, once again, this function does too many things. Maybe we could have this separation by layers at user service, but okay, it's understandable how it works. Get users with database, context. But once again, what happens if this will not be a higher order function? Okay, we will have this get users with database. We will just have this, I don't know, db host name as a first parameter, this context as a second parameter. What will happen? This pattern used in, okay, it's used in React. Maybe you use it a lot at front end, but in general, in server-side development, at least in JavaScript, this pattern is not used that much. Some programming languages uses this a lot, but not JavaScript, not Node.js. So I would avoid it. Okay, create user with database. Await, then JSON parse. Once again, don't mix async await with callback API. You can just await request body async request. Okay, then you can create parsed body. You can JSON parse body, request body, and it will be the same thing. And you can add a try catch block over it. Not very good idea to mix APIs. Okay. At user service level, we check that we don't pass to database invalid values, which is good. Let's check at the validation. Okay, we check that type of user is object. We check that is some user. What is this sum? Is sum, this is okay, this is something like is defined in Ladesh. So you check that that value is not null or undefined. Okay, but if type of okay, type of user object, type of null is also object. Okay, you have name in user. Type of username is string. You have age in user, it's number. is non-user age. Not sure what is the case when user age is number, but it could be none. Okay, you have hobbies and user and its array, and every hobby is a string. Okay, validation is pretty full, makes sense, but I would split it to some meaningful variables, maybe like name validation, age validation, hobbies validation, and that's it. But okay. What else do we have here? Get user, delete user. Okay. Everything works pretty same. What is also interesting here, let's take a look at the stuff inside of errors. Is there with message type of error equal to object unknown error? Okay, maybe too many runtime checks for errors. I understand what you try to do because error is really unknown value. Everything can be thrown, but in most cases you don't need such precision here. There is message, new error, string, maybe error, maybe error, return, maybe error. Okay. I've seen some stuff that I wanted to check some weird errors using like error throw. Let's take a look at this errors implementation. Okay, we can see that our custom error extends server error. In general, yes, errors are just classes. It can extend one another. It's good idea to have your own hierarchy of errors, but this static from throw ref throw with, is it used somewhere? Ref throw with, we don't use it, as I can see. Match quest error from try. Oh my god. Looks like you like RxJS. I see familiar words. Okay. It's good to have your own errors, but probably you overuse static properties. I would make it just custom errors, and I would throw these custom errors. And you may have this static code, message, whatever you want. So a bit more complicated than it could be. Oh, okay. Let's also take a look. What do we have in utils? We have some FP utils, either constructor right, left, from try. Don't get what's going on here. From promise. Okay. By the way, TypeScript has nice things that is not very often used in non-library code. It's called function overload because your function may match multiple interfaces, and you can define them all over the function, and your chain may be any of these. So is left, is right, chain, sorry. Map left, map right, unwrap. Okay. This looks like Lambda or RxJS, some functional libraries. I don't know why do we need it here. Okay, good for you, but too much for simple CRUD API. Common is nil, is sum, has sum, is sum function, no op. What is no op? This is intentional. Okay, let's check where it's used. No op. It's used inside of the service, but okay, your no op is just a function that does nothing. Why don't you use just function stub here? Just function. What's the difference? Why do we need our custom no op? Okay, but why? Okay, styled console. Styled console. Okay, this is how we color our console. We have a colors map. We have this concat. If this not used, just remove it. Don't leave it here. Maybe you removed it in final version, but still. Okay. So, by the way, this is how you make a colorized console. You just provide some specific color codes in addition to your message, and it will be colorized. Okay. Outmatch, pass to regexp, replace, escape literal dots, literal slashes, literal question mark, trailing slashes, wildcard, parameters. Okay, this is something related to input validation. Matches given URL against provided pass. Pass to regexp. Okay. Instance of regexp pass is instance of regexp is pass instance of regexp. Pass, what is pass? Regexp pass. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at the multiple mode, because we also have it here. It's run in balancer.ts. So we have this cluster from node cluster. Okay, good. We have two versions of code. I remind you that cluster is primary, or it's opposite cluster is worker. It's allows us to define in which version of the code we are. So whether we are inside of the primary process or we are inside of the worker. So if we are inside of the primary process, we run multi-primary, otherwise we run multi-worker. It doesn't really brings additional value here, so you could just place code from multi-primary here and code from multi-worker here. So it doesn't make many sense. But okay, let's take a look at the multi-primary code. What happens here? Here we extract necessary ports, and also we have round robin generator. We have initial value, max value, then we assign initial value as current value, then we have simulate delay, mass floor, mass random, and then we use await new promise, resolve, set timeout. Okay, first of all, we have a premissified version of set timeout. You can import it from node promises, node timers promises, and you can just await set timeout without this new promise wrapper. Then round robin could have much simplified implementation with any delays. You could just store current number of, I don't know, number of worker, number of port, and you can just rotate it. No need to use generator runtime. This is more complicated and it doesn't have advantages. Okay, where it's called round robin get. Okay, so we create server. This is our main server, which will be run on load balancer port. Let's try to run it. It will run on 4000. Okay. Run start multi. Okay, 7 workers were created. Memory database is running on our port. Balancers listening on server. Okay, it's good that we have very I don't know how to say it in English. Okay, we have very verbose logs here. We can understand everything what's going on from the logs. Okay, let's see what's going on next. We proxy our request to the proxy service port that we get from round robin request. Okay, so we just we do it using HTTP functionality. So we proxy request, and then we pipe request to response. So we pipe a response from our workers to response from load balancer. Okay, and what's going on inside of the worker? If cluster is worker, okay, why do we? This is safeguard from from not expected running this as a master process, but okay, you could just place the stuff inside of the balancer code, and this would not happen. By the way, this is your code. This is not. This is not. This is not something that you could use from library, so probably those safeguards are excessive. MemoryDB server port, start user service. Okay, for each worker we start user service on provided port, and we provide it with memory database service URL. Okay, about this process exit -1. From what I remember, status code, exit code should be any integer value, and -1 is valid code. But anyway, I would propose to do just process exit or use positive values. Not sure why you need this -1. It doesn't have advantages. Okay. It's pretty understandable what's going on here. We do the same stuff as was standalone service, but we get some values port on which we should run our service, and we receive database port just as for main process. Overall, this is a proper implementation of load balancing because, well, you have single source of truth, you have separated database, and you don't replicate database on each request. So this is correct implementation of load balancing and horizontal scaling here. Okay, good. I will not test it because for me it seems that it works fine. We will run tests and we will take a look at them, but from what I've seen in code, it should work just fine. Okay, let's take a look at the start dev and start prod modes. Okay, we have this nodemon exec ts node. Do we have nodemon configuration? Oh, we just use ts node here. Okay, fine. And for production, we use npm run build, which uses webpack, and we run code from dist. Dist is, I assume this is folder for our build. Okay, let's take a look at the webpack configuration. Okay, we have entry files for standalone and balancer. We have rules for transformation of JavaScript files and TypeScript files. We use webpack loaders. So we use TS loader for loading TypeScript code. So our bundle will result in name.js, dir name, dist. Okay, let's take a look at the build. npm run build. Oh, typo. npm run build. Okay, dist balancer standalone. Okay, you can see that code is minified and it's in JavaScript. Obviously, usually it's critical for you to reduce size of the bundle when you bundle front-end code and obfuscate it. It has several benefits. It's not that critical for backend code, but still it's better to have less size of your code even when you deploy it somewhere. It's deployed faster. Maybe you can not bring some excessive dependencies and so on. So minification makes sense, especially taking into account that you may have source maps and you may have this tracing from your build to your source code. But seems to be working correctly. Let's try to run npm run npm run start prod. Start prod. Okay, it seems to be working. What we haven't seen, let's take a look at the tests. We have a test script, test jest. Okay. So just will find all test suits according to the pattern of the file name, and we'll try to run it. Let's try to run it without running server. Maybe it will require running server. Let's check. Address already in use. Whoa. Okay, in initialization we try to start test servers. We provide 37s here, port. Okay, it seems that when one scenario is working correctly, others are failing because in each scenario we try to run test servers on the same ports. So you should provide different ports or run it in band. Let's try to run in band. Okay, our test script in band. Our test script starts servers itself. Pm test. In this case, it will work correctly. So don't forget about this, because some people may just run your tests and they will have fails. Okay, what's going on here? We start our test servers, we enable console login, we do request. After all, this hook will work after all tests are passed or failed. We stop MemoryDB and user server. By the way, it could be done using promise all, I assume, because they are not depending on each other. Okay, in scenario 1, we get get all records with get API user requests, check that it is equal to empty array, then we try to create new user, then we check that we received a newly created user. By the way, you could check it without duplication. I don't know, you could create mock body, get user body, okay, get user body. And also, I don't like using test utils because it's really better, at least from my perspective and experience, it's really better to have as much as possible to have everything related to the test inside of the test. So it's you spread your attention because okay, I need to check what's going on inside of get user body. My test failed. What is wrong with my test? Is my code not working correctly? Is some bug inside of my helper get user body, and so on? Anyway, I need to take a look inside of this and check that why do we need this thing. All it does is just it gets name and age in one object and many hobbies, and it just aggregates hobbies into array. Why not to create this object here explicitly, and I can see, okay, I try to send this body and I receive such request. It's pretty clear. So it's obvious for me what is wrong and where is the error. But anyway, so you send some body, yes, and you can check that response contains this ID expect any string. It's understandable, but apart from it, it contains your mock body. So you will not have this duplication, and I understand that I expect in response the same data that I sent in request. So it's also better from my point of view. Okay, then we try to get the user, then we try to update user, we try to delete it. This is what was described in assignment. Okay. Also, we have DB service tests. Okay. Object gets users, API users. Scenario 1 should pass successfully. Why scenario 1? Maybe scenario 3. Get users, new object created. Another object is created. We try to get created records. Okay, we try to see that okay, we get both records. Then we use purge, and we expect not to have in the records. Okay. Scenarios really depend on you. I mostly thought about validation stuff because you don't really test validation in your API tests. This is the thing that I would cover definitely. But okay, you have different scenarios. Also, I would propose to have some enum for status codes to avoid magic numbers anti-pattern. But okay, this looks fine. We also have tests for database service, which is really nice. Okay, so probably we reviewed everything. Looks good, but from my point of view, it's overcomplicated. And okay, I understand. Maybe you have some experience, you had some fun, you had your playground here, but if it would be a real project, I would expect it to be less complicated because when you write it, it's everything inside of your head, you understand it end to end, you know what's going on, you know how to debug it, but other people will have difficulties with understanding, with maintaining it, and also even you, okay, you switch to another service, another library, you work on another functionality, you look at this code in, I don't know, half of a year, in 1 year, and you will have difficulties with understanding as well. But anyway, this work is well structured, split into services. It implements proper scaling, which is also good. Okay, guys, maybe you have some questions. Yes, it was avoidance of deepness. No, this work doesn't avoid deep nesting. Written by nope, it doesn't. It doesn't looks like written by GitHub Copilot because GitHub Copilot would make it more typical way. You shouldn't use think mock model for marriage test and same reference and assert. You should use think. You can eventually mutate mock model and I will not mutate my models. Okay. Good. I don't see questions about this work. We have author here. Okay, I can see that guys are typing. Let's wait for some questions. Why WebSocket takes 2 weeks? Let me check. It shouldn't. Yeah, thank you for your job. It really differs from what is usually sent here. It was interesting to take a look at this work. Thank you as well. Let me check the schedule. Let me check the schedule. Battleship. Yeah, guys, sorry. We had issue with Battleship task previously, but those issues were fixed. So this should be 1 week timeline. So yeah, it will be. Thank you for noticing. It will be adjusted because now everything's fine with assignment. It was tested and implemented. It's fine. Okay, let's take a look at the next task, basic testing. Okay, we have work from student with GitHub Solidados. Okay, let's switch to the dev branch and install these dependencies. Okay. And I remind you that you had pre-written test cases. Let's switch to main branch. And you had to write your test cases in those pre-written test cases. I apologize. 1 hour of non-stop speaking is really makes difference. Okay, let's switch to the dev branch. So I will open our tested code, and then I will open tests at the left side. So you had this simple calculator here. It does validation of raw input, and also it checks action, and depending on action, it makes addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or exponentiation. It also may throw error, but this code is not reachable because during input validation, if action is not a member of this action enum, you will have invalid input. So your error will never be thrown, but you didn't have such test. Okay, should add 2 numbers. Number 1, number 2, action add, expected, okay, expect, simple calculator, row input to be expected. Okay, should subtract, multiply, divide, exponentiate, return null to invalid action. Yes. Okay, for invalid arguments. Okay, looks good. You could add more checks. I mean, you could add cases when okay, you check that A is invalid but B is valid. You could also check vice versa, that A is valid but B is invalid, but it's fine. Okay, those tests are pretty basic and simple. Oh, by the way, we didn't run it. Let's run it. npm test. Okay, our tests are passed. And what you had to do inside of table tests. Jest has a fancy API for writing so-called table tests. You can write about it in the internet. I will not explain it very much, but table tests are suitable when you have many test cases that only differ in input and expected result, but you have a pretty same test case body. You can see that here, okay, it can be abstracted. You have some input, okay, you have A, B action. Then you call your simple calculator with this input and you compare it with expected value. So looks like step 1, prepare input. Step 2, call simple calculator. Step 3, make assertion, and pretty simple. You don't need additional setup. You don't need setup for some mocked API, so your test looks pretty same. This to be null is also can be abstracted into to be null, so you can have a single test case. So you can define your test cases. You can make array of test cases with input and expected result. Maybe it could be made a little bit different way. It could be done like that: input and expected, because input is one logical block, let's say. But it's also fine like it's written here. And then you do test each. So you are working with test cases, and then you provide your message. You can reference your results here, and you can reference data from test cases, and then you write your unified test case. You get A, B action expected. On each iteration, you work with a single test case. So A, B action expected taken from single row. It will be executed for each row, and we do this simple calculator, call it, and assert result. Let's run it. And what is beautiful here, that you can have meaningful test case titles from a single test case, because we reference here expected, A, action, B. So you can see that it transforms into meaningful test case titles. So should return 3 when 1 plus 2. Okay, when I would write it a little bit different. Should return expected on operation, and put it into okay, you got the idea. Okay, so you need to structure your data. You can structure your data depending on your message construction, or you can have separated properties like description. So you can have description, input, expected, and you can just put here description. Really up to you and how much your descriptions are similar to one another. Okay, next example is you have you have code that throws errors and rejects errors. So it throws regular error, it throws custom errors, it also does rejects, it also does resolve, so you need to test all these functions. Okay. Let's see. Resolve value. Should resolve provided value. So you can see that you have asynchronous callback in this case, and you can do await. To be honest, I don't like the syntax when many values are nested, so you can do it like this. Const result equal to await resolve value, and then you can do synchronous assertion that result expect result to be value. It should work just fine. You can see the test is passed. So yeah. What else? Throw in error. In case of synchronous error, you can check that you can put callback with calling your testing code here and use to throw error just matcher. And here we check that we throw specific error with provided error message. This to throw error is really polymorphic, so you can assert for error message, for example. It will also work because in this case it will understand that you try to check message. It can assert for specific error. You can take a look at examples of in the documentation. We also check that in case if we don't provide message, it throws error with default message. From my point of view, it's better to assert for specific message. Okay, to throw error, my awesome error. Okay, yes. Reject custom error. Await expect. Rejects to throw error. Okay, this is correct syntax for this case. Let's take a look at another example. Okay, maybe you have some questions. How to get A, B if it was an input block in table test title? Let's try to do it. Probably I will comment the rest of the stuff to simplify it a little bit. Okay, let's put it inside of the input. Input expected. Okay. Let's make a bit more destructuring here. Oh. Expected. Okay, good. Let's check how it works. Input dot should return expected when. Let's check whether it supports pass. Input A, input action, input B. Yes, it does. You can write a pass to your nested object, so you can see that at top level you have input. Inside of the input you have A, B, and action, and you can reference it like in JavaScript. Input.a, input.action, input.b. It works exactly the same. Okay, let's take a look at the class. So we have a very dummy class which represents a bank account with some randomness because you need to be able to. This was a trap for you. because some people just try to run code that provide randomness without controlling this randomness. So they just can call some method and check, okay, if method returned this, then do that. If method returned other value, then do another action. So this is not correct. So if you have this random here from Ladesh, you need to control what your random returns to you. So, okay, before each, we initialize something that is called transfer details. Here we get one bank account, another bank account, initial balance, insufficient amount, and some amount. And then we do some actions with them. From my point of view, it's once again, you don't need to write very short tests, okay? This is like using I don't know, byte operations. This is like using byte operations for arithmetics, okay? Or writing some stuff that, sport programming, something like this. Very short and quick solutions, but they are not very readable and they are not easy to support. So I would place everything what is necessary here. So just write it like this. Okay, account is get back account. New account is also get bank account. Okay, good. Initial balance, get Ladesh. Get is declared but never read. Oh, okay. It will work exactly the same. Same stuff in other places. All those references make things easier. Okay, so we expect to throw very specific error with specific message. Okay, it's good. Not testing, not byte, bitwise. Yeah, bitwise. Yeah. Not sure how to say it in English. My English is very good, as you can see. Okay. Also, it should throw error when you try to transfer to the same account. Okay, account initial balance, transfer account. Okay, should deposit money, withdraw money, transfer money, fetch balance, should return number in case if request did not fail. This is something very interesting. Okay, you can see that we are testing method account fetch balance. Okay. Really doesn't make many sense here, because, well, this test case, you create spy on, by the way, not on account. You should spy on bank account, prototype, fetch balance, first of all. Then your test looks like this. You create mock. You say, okay, my mock should return this value. Then you call your mock and get this value. This looks like this. Fetch balance should, okay. By the way, don't write thing like this. You don't need this. This promise void, it already knows what it should return, and this is not your application code. Should do something. Oh, Copilot learns from you. It learns bad things. So your test looks like this. Okay, let's create mock function. Mock resolved value, it's equal to 1. Then you check that, okay, expect some function to be instance of function, and expect await some function to be 1. This test Oh, expected constructor function, received constructor function is not instance of function. Okay. Anyway, let's remove it. Maybe those are different function constructors. Okay, this test is passed, but what it tells us? It tells us that you mocked function and you return and you got values that you explicitly set to mock. The proper way to fetch balance method is to mock random from Lodash. Okay, so you should mock random. Let's try to do it. Just mock Lodash. I will make this dynamic mocks. For this specific test case, you can do global mocks. You can, for example, do it like this. Okay, you can say that random is a function that returns 0. It will always return 0. But for some test cases, it's better to define it for each case. Okay, just mock dash fetch balance. Okay, what's going on inside of our fetch balance? You can see that if random returned us 0 here, we have two calls, one with balance, one with request failed check. So okay, let's remove it. Let's create some bank account. Or let's name it mock account. Okay. Random as just mock. Let's also define our balance and mock balance is equal to 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Okay. Mock return value once. Mock balance. So you can see that your first call of random is about balance, and second call of random is about check. So random as just mock. Request. Result. So then you create your account, then you call mock account fetch balance, and then you expect balance to be your mock balance. To strict equal is not necessary here. You can use just to be. And also your fetch balance doesn't fail. Okay, then we should make another test to check what happens if your request fails. If request fails, okay, in this case we provide our mock on second call with failed request result. This is 0. Because you can see that this is our interval in which we get random values. So if interval is from 0 to 1, we get only 0 or 1. So we need to check two cases. And you should see that balance to be null. This test should also work. Okay. So this is the correct way how to test it. You can test implementation details a little bit. You can also check that you call your random function with correct arguments. So you can check that expect random to have been ends called with First call from 0 to 100 and false. Expect random to be and called second call with 10 false. You can also check that random has been called twice. And this is also passed. Please tell me which extension allows you to run individual tests directly from test code. Oh, let's see. I don't remember exactly which one. Just runner. Just runner. So what I mean here, you need to check how your method works. You may use this just on for methods that depends on another method. For example, for synchronize balance, let's remove my dummy test case. Synchronize balance, where it is, synchronize balance. Synchronize balance. Yeah, here it is correct because you mock fetch balance, which is used inside of the synchronize balance, and you call synchronize balance, and then you expect for some result. This is correct usage. Except only one thing that probably it's better to mock stuff at class level. But this is about preferences. And also fetch balance mock restore. Why do you restore it all the time? Maybe this is because of your shared test details. Okay, good. Let's move on. Let's move to the partial mocking. Okay, so you have a file with 4 functions. You need to mock 3 functions, and you have 1 unmocked function. Let's see how it's done here. Yes, so we can get original module content using just require actual. After that, we have this create mock, just function, create mock. Okay. By the way, you could use just function here, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yes, it also works. So you can see that we have original module here. Those functions were overwritten because you all know JavaScript, you know how it works. When you destructure some object, then you can overwrite the properties by placing it below the destructure code. Okay, if we would not mock one, then mock one would call console log with foo. So it was overwritten, that's why it works. Okay, after all, just unmock. Yes, it's usual to do such things if you are not doing it globally. Okay, just on console log mock implementation. Okay. Good. You can also mock Node.js APIs. It doesn't really differs from how you mock some external libraries, but you need to know that if you code using Node.js APIs, you can mock it as well. So you have read file asynchronously here, you have do stuff by timeout, and you have do stuff by interval. By the way, Jest has a good API to work with timers. You can set fake system time, you can advance timers by a specific amount of time, and so on. Okay, let's see how we check do stuff by timeout. Before all, just use fake timers. Okay. Maybe we could provide it with some specific date, but it's not mandatory. Before each spy timeout, just spy on global set timeout. Okay. Just clear all mocks. After all, just use real timers. Okay. Do stuff by timeout, callback timeout. Where is timeout? Equal to interval equal to. Oh, please. Don't do that. Just reuse timeout or use timeout as interval. No need to do such things like timeout equal to. Okay, we know about chaining assignment, but it's not necessary. And also this callback, it could also be just function, and you could also check that callback to have been called with something. Okay, do stuff by timeout. Here we check that we called set timeout with proper callback and timeout, and then we check that callback is also called. So mock callback, just function, callback. Yes, if you provide some function inside of just function, this is mock function implementation. Do stuff by timeout, expect mock. Then we advance timers by timeout, and we expect that mock callback have been called once. Okay, this is correct. Same setup for do stuff by interval. Checking calling set interval is the same, but for callback multiple times after multiple intervals. Okay, array from length 5. Okay, it will be executed 5 times. Then we do just advanced timers by time, expect to be called times e plus 1. Okay. Okay, looks fine, but I would simplify it. Maybe just would make some sequential calls in line. I mean, like advanced timers by interval called once, advanced timers by interval called twice, advanced timers by intervals called 3 times. But okay, because amount here, you don't need big amounts here. Like imagine you have some functionality that makes batch calls, and you make thousands of requests, and you need to batch them like, I don't know, 50 requests per batch. And here you need to create an array with I don't know, 200 items, and check that there were 4 calls. In this case, it really makes sense, but otherwise, you can just use inline stuff. Okay, read file asynchronously. First of all, we get full pass using join API. After that, we check file existence using exist_sync. After that, we read file asynchronously, transform file content to the string. So you should be careful. You need to mock read file and return it with method to string. Otherwise, we return null if file doesn't exist. So what happens? Should call join with pass to file. Should return null if file doesn't exist. Mock pass to file resolves to be null. Where do we mock it? Just spy on exist sync file exist. Okay, this will work, and you can redefine values that is returned from spice, but from my point of view, it would be better to make, at least for this simple test cases, it would be better to define everything inside of the test case, so I can see, okay, join returns this, plus exist_sync returns this, read file returns this, I get this result. So everything in one place. But okay, it will work. Don't make complex abstractions in test code as well. Avoid using helpers, some complicated logic in before each, because, well, when your implementation changes and you will need to add additional test cases, your existing tests will break and you will need to write complex abstractions again. And otherwise, you would just write one more test case and it will be fine. Okay, mocking library API. So you have a function that gets data from API, and you also have throttling here. Let's see how students deal with these issues. Okay, just use fed timers. Okay, use real timer. Should create instance with provided base URL. Okay, we check that we call Axios. Should perform request to correct provided URL. We spy on Axios prototype get. By the way, we could also mock create and return object with method get and check this get method call. And also this get method would return some specific data. Okay, to do type. Oh, please don't do that. Just do it like this. No need to define types inside of test cases. This is not proper thing. Your implementations shouldn't contain abstractions. It's incorrect. Okay. Expected response data, expect object contain. Where do we mock it actually? Total data endpoint. Create, get. Model get data from API. Interesting. Let's log it. User ID. Okay, so do we make real request here? Let's check. This is not good. To do one. Oh, this is very bad. Okay, guys, we shouldn't do real API calls in unit tests. Never do that. Never ever do that. It's completely incorrect. Your test shouldn't depend on any external systems. Okay, imagine your JSON placeholder is dead, then you try to make API call and your unit test fails. You may have tests that depend on integration with different APIs. Okay, you may have. Okay, let's remember. Let's recall testing pyramid. You have unit tests that tests your basic function. You may have integration tests that can check integration between different components or systems, and you may have you may have end-to-end tests that make that imitate the user flow and make all the stuff that involves all application components. So in this case, you should mock response from get API call, and you should then assert that your function get data from API returned you exactly the same data that you get from your Axios client.get call. Never ever call real servers in this case. It's not correct. You should mock all dependencies, all external systems, at least on unit test levels. Okay, snapshot testing, last one. Okay, here you have functions that generates linked list. You all know what it is from basic computer science knowledges. You know that this is a data structure where every element is linked to another element, and when you have no other elements in chain, your next pointer points you to null and not to next node in the chain. Okay, so we have here fifth element leading actors, supporting actors, expected linked list. Yes, you can see that your linked list is deeply nested. So you have value, next, value, next, value, next, value, next. Sometimes such objects may be very big, not very readable. Okay, you may have some, from what I've seen, in our production code, we had our lightweight OpenSearch query builder that allows you to make OpenSearch queries with just few lines of code. But if you ever seen this, it may be very big, it has different layers of nesting and so on. And maybe sometimes if you will see such an object, it will not give you many information. So what you can do instead? You can just use a dedicated jest matcher, expect something to match snapshot. So it will create a snapshot for you. You can see that you have this generate linked list here. And if your result you will run it once, it will create snapshot. And then if you will run this function again with the same input, but result will differ from snapshot, in this case, you will get error. This approach is suitable for some cases. What you should be aware of, you should be aware of managing your snapshots because your data should be very well validated. You should avoid just using blind, okay, let's make snapshot testing, because your snapshots may be not correct. And you may not always understand why your snapshot failed. So it's not suitable for all possible cases, but for cases like this, okay, generate linked list, pretty obvious logic. It doesn't change. We are sure that it doesn't change because this is basic data structure. So we may rely on snapshot testing here. But anyway, if we, we need to be sure that we don't have some ninja in our team that will create invalid snapshot. Okay, so I will take a look at the chat. What should I have checked? Should create instance with provided base URL. In which base URL called create function or the result of execution? With which base URL and result of execution, both. Okay, guys, this example is synthetic. You know, usually you don't need to test at such low level, like what is the argument that Axios create has been called. Okay, I just wanted you to try to go to the deeper of the calling of initialization of clients to help you understand and get hands-on experience with mocking such things. Probably in most cases you will not test stuff at such deep level, but you need to know how to do that when you will need it. So yeah. Okay. This is it. I will wait 1 minute for your questions and then we will wrap up. Unfortunately, today we will not have issuance of battleship task. I will discuss it with Andrei. Maybe we will use issuance from previous from previous iteration. Maybe he will make it a bit later. Okay, so 1 minute for your questions regarding these two tasks. Okay, I don't see any questions. I don't see people typing. So thank you for joining and have a nice evening. Bye-bye.